Hi everyone, my name's Laura and I'm the Specky Seamstress. Welcome back to my channel. It's not been 8 months, so we're going to call this a success. Although it is a little longer than I wanted it to be. I did film a video while I was away with work, but it had a really weird feedback buzz in the audio, so I couldn't upload it. So I'm refilming it today, but I'm actually not very well, so bear with me if my voice is a bit croaky and if there's a few more jump cuts than usual, if I have to pause to go get a drink or cough. We came down with COVID in the household, which is rubbish, and yeah, we've been feeling a little bit ropey. So hopefully I am on the mend and yeah, I'll be able to get through the video. First, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who watched and commented and liked and reached out to me on Instagram and stuff to say that it was good to see me back. I feel very welcomed back into the YouTube world and really looking forward to filming some more videos. I have noted that in the comments there was requests for an update on my knitting and crochet, and also a bit of a roundup of maternity and pumping sewing. I hope to film that over the next couple of days and just be able to put them out as extra videos, because they're probably not of interest to everybody, and I would like to make sure that they go out alongside some other stuff, more about what I've sewn and what I'm planning on sewing. So this video is a video about the pattern hacks that I have planned for this year. Planned might be too strong a word. Ambitions to sew, perhaps. Because I talked a little bit in my last video about how I'm trying to make things that I've had in my mind for a while happen. And so I've tried to put down some of those things that I've wanted to happen for a while into a video. I've got 10 patterns that I'd like to hack or mash, that I'm going to go through, hopefully without it taking 45 minutes, to tell you a little bit about what I have planned, and hopefully you'll start to see some of them come to life over the next little while. One thing I would say is there was loads of comments about my jumper that I was wearing in the last video, and I've got a lot to say about that jumper, so there will definitely be quite a lot about it in the knitting crochet roundup video. But the yoke pattern with the scissors is a pattern by Bristol Ivy, but the jumper isn't quite that because the fit was a bit weird. So that's the yoke, but not the whole pattern, which is probably not that helpful, but I just wanted to say what it was because there was quite a lot of comments about it. So let's crack on with pattern hacks. So yeah, as I said, I'm keen to try to turn some of the things that I've had in my mind as an idea for a while into some kind of reality, and know that it's okay if it goes wrong. I think one of the things that's been stopping me a bit in kind of feeling creative in my sewing is feeling a little bit nervous about making mistakes when I haven't got lots of time to sew anymore. So I'm hoping by kind of writing this down and talking about it, it just gives me a bit of a nudge, a bit of oomph to say, give this a go, because if it's been in your mind that long, you should probably try it. So some of them are fairly simple and some of them are a little bit more involved, but we'll crack on with number one, which is the Sasha Starlight side tie dungarees, which I talked about in the last video, as a pinafore dress. This is a very simple hack. All I will do is, at the point at which the trousers have a crotch, I will remove that and add a little A-line skirt. I think that it will be a really nice maternity pattern, but also just a pattern that I will wear a lot in the future as well. I can see it being quite versatile in my wardrobe. So this pattern goes to a 64-inch bust, a 60-inch waist and a 64-inch hip. I made the medium when I made my dungarees. All of them have been the medium, but I probably could have got away with the small, which is not something I say super often. It does have quite a lot of ease, and I think there's extra small and extra small in this pattern. So there's quite a wide size range there. Like I say, that one should be fairly simple. I've got quite a lot of wools and suitings. I've even got a really heavy mustard is the colour I was looking for. I was looking at it thinking it's a yellow. A mustard velvet pair of curtains that I think would make a really cute pinafore dress. So I think, yes, I would like to try with that. And I don't think that will be too much, so maybe that will be the first one that I do as a bit of a like jumping in point to this. So number 2 is a bit of a complicated one to explain because it's not exactly a pattern hack. But in the last series of the Great British Sewing Bee, in the very first episode, the contestants made a twist front blouse, and it had a really interesting construction and it appealed to my engineering brain. And I've made a version of it in a woven fabric that I really like, but I can't get the idea of it out of my head of having a jumper version. So again, this is quite a simple one in the sense that I've already done the hard work in terms of how the twist works and also deciding what pattern I want to use. For the woven one, I use the Cashmerette Montrose, so I don't have a size range for this pattern hack because it just depends what you choose as your starting point. I recommend that you have a starting point that fits you reasonably well for a woven bodice, and then you can make the kind of pattern hacks. And I think when I make this as a jumper, I will probably film a bit more in detail about what that entails. But the hack that I need to make now is that the woven pattern that I have has bust darts, and I probably don't need that for a jersey make, so I might need to go to a different jersey pattern, like a different pattern that's meant for jersey, and adapt it, or I might need to try and fiddle around a little bit with what I've done. So maybe a little bit more tweaking than proper hacking, but I really love it. I like, since I've been knitting more, I've really like got on with the idea of a cropped jumper over a dress, and like rather than a cardigan, maybe not rather than a cardigan, as well as, not at the same time, but I like the option of having a jumper over a dress with a kind of big skirt in some way, shape or form. So I think this with the twist front is a really nice, like, different style, rather than a lot of them that are quite baggy, the crop jumpers, and you have to kind of tuck them in. And sometimes I felt like I need to wear a belt to tuck them into to give it a bit more like shape and style. I think this one will be a nice one to kind of sit on its own, basically. So I don't have any fabric lined up for that. And I don't have a lot of like heavier weight jerseys in my stash. I've got lots of other stuff in my stash, so I'm sure I could find something, but I would really like to give that a go because I think that I was really pleased with how the woven one worked. I will probably make some more in like a lighter weight fabric, I think, over like the summer, because I think it'll be nice as a little extra layer. But I do want to make the jumper probably before it gets warm again, so maybe that's another one that needs to happen fairly high up the list. Number 3 is something that has been in my head for such a long time, but every time I've come to try it, I've got nervous and whipped out, basically. This is the Cocowawa Crafts Coconut PJs pattern. Now I have made a couple of the coconut PJ tops as day tops before. I think I've talked about them on my videos because it was back in 2020, I think, that I found the pattern. When it was released, I honestly wasn't that captivated by it. It had a big like ruffly neck and was Cocowawa Crafts style is quite like frilly, which isn't really my style. But I started to see a few people make it up with a plain neck. So it has an elasticated neck, which you use a channel for and you just feed some elastic through. It has set-in sleeves, and then it's not got a lot of shape through the body, but you get some shape through the elastic neckline. And I found this really useful for pumping access when I was pumping for James, so I thought that it would be good to revisit the pattern. And I really love the idea of hacking it into a dress, but it's a little bit complicated because the style is quite loose fitting and I don't want to lose the kind of whole aesthetic without sounding a bit because it's lovely, but I would usually wear something with a more fitted waist. So I need to work out whether I want to add front darts to the waist and then have an elasticated back, so it's still kind of loose-ish but tucked in, cinched in a little bit. Or I could just make an A-line like shift dress, which is not my normal style, but I am leaning towards that a little bit more, even if it's just as a starting point. And what I could do is look at the Montrose / April hack mash that I showed in the last video, and look at the kind of shape of that and see if I could mimic that. So there's a little bit of shaping, but not lots, because I think that would be really nice and comfortable for the summer. And yeah, I shouldn't like the coconut. Like it's not my normal style, but I really do like the two versions that I have. They're unfortunately short sleeve blouses, which I haven't been wearing a lot of in my wardrobe recently because I absolutely need to make myself a wide leg pair of trousers at some point when I'm not pregnant. Yeah, I think that I will wear a dress version of it more than I think I would, if that makes sense. So that pattern goes up to a UK 24, which is only a 48-inch bust, 41-inch waist, 49-inch hip. So I would measure very near the top of that size range, but I actually made what they call a size 7. I think it goes up to a size 10, and I measure at a size 9, and it fit me fine. So the finished garment measurement for a size 7 is 54 inches at the bust, and I'm 46 inches. So I would recommend looking at the ease on that, but it isn't the most size inclusive pattern, unfortunately. Just looking at the next one, number 4. I even numbered them on my list to help me so that I didn't get lost, and I still got lost. Number 4 is actually something that I'm wearing the first version that I made of it. That wasn't very good English. So the Georgian Ginger Malibu dress, which is a jerky, strappy dress with no waist seam and a big A-line skirt, a bit like skater style, is another dress that isn't my normal style, but I've made like 4 of them and I love them. They were super, super comfy through summer and winter last year, because they're easy to layer. And I basically really want to make a woven version of this, but I need bust darts in a woven strappy top, and I want to add the jersey binding around the neck and the jersey straps, which makes my life harder, which is maybe a theme in this video so far, because there are lots of strappy dress patterns out there for wovens. So I could kind of go to the saltwater slip, or there's another one, isn't there? Is it Helen's Closet? Is it called Reynolds? Or is that the wide tank one? Orchid? Is that the Helen's Closet one? There's a couple, aren't there, that are probably very similar. And actually, I think a couple of them are free, so I probably could get that and look at it. But I don't think any of them have bust darts, and I'm not sure they're quite what I'm looking for. And basically, I really like the neckline of the Malibu. So what I've done so far is made the woven version in the size up from what I would normally make. So the pattern goes to a 55.5-inch bust, a 48-inch waist, and I've made a mistake there because it says a 5-inch hip, which is obviously incorrect. But that gives you some idea. It goes up to a 5XL, and I make the XL when I make the jersey version, or the XXL I think I make in the jersey version, because I think I've sized up to the 3XL for the woven version, and I tried to mash in some darts from another pattern, which to be fair worked. Like this is the jumper obviously that I'm wearing on top, but I've made a wearable dress that I really like. I've added the skirt from the Kinfolk dress, which I showed in my last video, and I'll talk about more in a little bit. But it's not quite right. The darts are not quite in the right place. The fit around the waist isn't quite perfect, which is fine because what I want to do is layer it up over things and under things. So it works fine, but I would like to tweak it. So this is one I'd like to kind of keep going at for a little bit longer, because I really think that layering up strappy dresses is something I'm quite keen on, but I've not been keen on in the past. Like, it's been a new development in my style, maybe, and I think it would be quite fun to have a strappy dress pattern that I know I could wear with jumpers over the top, or like my knitting over the top, or whatever, because it's just a little bit easier than wearing a skirt. I think I find a skirt and top quite challenging, and I don't know, maybe if it's just at the minute and it will ease up. I find skirts quite hard to like wear. I find them a bit irritating, sort of the waistband and stuff. So I think having a dress that's kind of easy to throw on, particularly in the summer, and just be able to layer up and stuff over the winter is quite helpful. So that's number 4. And I'm starting to think I might have to split this video into 2 parts. Number 5 is the Xanthia Zero Waist pattern, which I shared in a video probably about a year ago now, and I've made loads of, and I love it as a jumper, and I've made some t-shirts of it. So the Zanthia is a... I always do this in it when I'm talking about the Zanthia. It's got a big cross seam in the front. It's a zero waist pattern that you just make out of rectangles. It's got a really interesting construction again. And you end up with this seam across the front or the back, I suppose. And I really like the idea of turning it into a dress. So I've, again, already made a first stab at this pattern. I'm not sure if I have a picture of it. I'll have to have a look through. But I make, so the pattern goes up to like a 70-inch bust. You draft the rectangle size from your measurements. And there are even instructions, I think, for beyond a 70-inch bust as to how you would do it. And I normally make the size 16, which is 2 sizes down from my body measurements. But the pattern goes from a size 8. And what I did for the kind of first version that I made, I just made a size 8 in jersey. You can make this pattern in jersey or woven, but I prefer it in a jersey. To see how it fit, to see if it would be suitable for a bodice, for a dress. And it was, it is. The only challenge with it perhaps is that because the pattern is zero waist, it's hard to shorten, because you lose the kind of symmetry of the cross seam at the front. So I would have to just lose some of that and lose the symmetry, which I think would be fine in a plain, like a solid colour. But I do quite like the idea of using it to colour block. So the version I made, I just used some half-yard pieces that I had of bamboo jersey. And now I'm not really sure what to do with it, because I either need to turn it into a little crop t-shirt, or I need to turn it into a dress, but I don't have enough of any of those fabrics to make a skirt. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that. But it is an experiment that's in process, so hopefully it will come to fruition at some point. I do have a reasonable cut of a couple of solid coloured jerseys, so I could try it with that. Or I could just take all of the random scraps I have and make a bit of a pieced together skirt as a colourful dress, even if I just end up wearing it at home. So this video is already pretty much 20 minutes long, so I am going to cut this video into 2 parts. So that was the first 5 pattern hacks that I plan to make over the course of the year. And there's a bit of a mix in there, I think. The second half of the video is a little bit more about dresses, I would say. But that's where I'm going to stop for today. My intention is to film the rest of this video now, and maybe just put them out on consecutive days so that they're out and ready. But 20 minutes feels like enough for you to listen to me for one day. So I would love to hear if you guys have tried any of those patterns, what you think about those pattern hacks, how you think I might tackle some of the ones that I'm a little bit less sure of. And yeah, what you're planning for this year. I think I've gone off the idea of trying new patterns for some reason. So some of these are kind of just ways of me trying to make stuff that I like out of things I already have. Although there's 2 in the next half that are new to me, so maybe I'm just contradicting myself. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I will be back probably tomorrow wearing the same things because it will actually be today. But yes, thank you so much for listening, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks everyone, bye!